Imagine waking up tomorrow morning, and the ground beneath your feet starts to scream. Not shake, not tremble, it tears. A crack forms beneath cities, oceans, and continents stretching farther than the eye can see. Sirens wail, buildings collapse, and then someone realizes something horrifying. The Earth isn't just cracking, it's splitting in half. Now, sci-fi movies love a good planetary fracture. But what actually happens when you slice a 6 sextillion-ton rock down the middle? Do we just drift apart like an awkward divorced couple, or does physics violently pull us back together? First, let's address the elephant in the universe: gravity. Gravity isn't just a force that keeps your feet on the ground. It's a cosmic hoarder. It hates asymmetrical things. The only reason Earth is a sphere is because its massive gravity pulls everything equally toward the center. So, if an alien superweapon or a rogue micro-black hole sliced the Earth in two and instantly pushed the halves a few hundred miles apart, physics would look at that and say, absolutely not. If the halves are close, they will instantly slam back together with mind-boggling ferocity. We're talking about a collision so violent, it would liquefy the crust, turn the atmosphere into a furnace, and reset Earth back to its primordial, molten baby years. Total extinction. Game over. But that's a short video. Let's say by some continuous cosmic miracle, an unknown force holds the two halves apart. What happens to us? Let's start with the vertical split, slicing the planet right through the poles, separating the eastern and western hemispheres. Welcome to the vertical split. The Americas are on one side. Europe, Africa, Asia, and Australia are on the other. In between them, a brand new bottomless abyss where the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans used to be. The moment the split happens, the first thing you'd notice isn't the ground moving, it's your breath getting harder to catch. Our atmosphere is held in place by gravity. With the planet split, the air would immediately begin cascading over the newly formed edges, rushing down into the exposed mantle. If you live near the coastline, say New York or Lisbon, you are now living on the edge of a literal planetary cliff. The oceans would turn into the most terrifying waterfalls in cosmic history, draining millions of gallons of water per second into the exposed, molten interior of the Earth. The interaction between billions of gallons of cold seawater and a 6,000-degree exposed mantle would trigger the mother of all steam explosions. Megavolcanoes would erupt simultaneously along the entire rim of the split. The sky would instantly turn pitch black with ash, blocking out the sun for years. But let's talk about the shape. A half-sphere is a gravitational nightmare. Gravity wants to turn each half back into a ball. Because of this, the corners or edges of the split would experience a bizarre gravitational shift. To someone standing near the edge, down would no longer feel like it's beneath their feet. It would feel like it's at a steep angle, pulling them back toward the center of the half-sphere's mass. You'd literally feel like you're standing on a steep mountain wall, even if the ground was perfectly flat. Can we survive this? If you're inland, say, deep in the American Midwest or Central Asia, you might survive the initial shock waves. But the atmosphere is thinning, the sun is gone, and the climate is collapsing. But what if we sliced it the other way? Let's try the horizontal split. The northern hemisphere gets North America, Europe, and Asia. The southern hemisphere gets South America, Africa, and Australia. Scientifically, this is an entirely different brand of chaos. Why? Because the Earth spins. The Earth rotates at roughly 1,000 miles per hour at the equator, but almost 0 miles per hour at the poles. When you slice the planet horizontally, you are cutting right through the fastest moving part of the planet. The moment the equator becomes an open edge, the centrifugal force from the spin would clash violently with the disrupted gravity. The liquid outer core and molten mantle would violently spray outward into space like a cosmic lawn sprinkler spinning out of control. For anyone living in Ecuador, Kenya, or Indonesia, the world doesn't just end, it vanishes beneath them. The equator becomes an unlivable zone of exposed magma, supersonic winds, and zero atmosphere. Just like the vertical split, the oceans of both hemispheres would rush toward the equator, creating a global drainage system that meets a fiery death in the exposed mantle. But the human geopolitical crisis here is even worse. The northern hemisphere holds about 90% of the world's population. It also holds the majority of the agricultural land. The southern hemisphere, now isolated, loses its connection to the global supply chain instantly. Worse yet, the Earth's magnetic field, which is generated by the churning liquid iron in the core, would completely collapse or fracture into chaotic, weak mini-fields. Without a unified magnetic field, both hemispheres are suddenly defenseless against solar radiation. Cosmic rays would bombard the surface, frying satellites, destroying electrical grids, and causing catastrophic DNA damage to any living thing left outside. So we've sliced it vertically, we've chopped it horizontally. The oceans have drained, the atmosphere has thinned, and the sun is blocked by ash. Is humanity extinct? Surprisingly. Maybe not all of us. Human beings are stubborn. If we have any hope of survival, it lies deep inland, away from the collapsing edges. Over decades, the intense volcanic winter would begin to settle. The remaining atmosphere would eventually stabilize, though it would be much thinner, similar to living on top of Mount Everest. To survive, humanity would have to move entirely underground or inside heavily pressurized biodomes. Surface agriculture is dead, so our diet would shift entirely to lab-grown meat, hydroponic crops, and fungi grown in subterranean bunkers. Because the magnetic field is gone, going outside would require heavy radiation shielding, akin to spacesuits worn by astronauts on Mars. We would essentially become aliens on our own split planet. And what about the planet itself? Over millions of years, physics always wins. Gravity will slowly, painfully, reshape each half-sphere back into a smaller, rounded ball. The sharp edges will collapse inward, the centers will bulge, and eventually, the solar system will just have two smaller, scarred planets orbiting where Earth used to be. If humanity manages to hold on in their underground vaults, our descendants wouldn't look up at the moon. They would look up into the night sky and see the sister half of their ancient home, glowing in the dark, a permanent reminder of the day the world broke in two. So, if you could choose, which half would you want to live on? Let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and keep your planet whole. Thanks for watching.